Welcome to episode 53 of Believe in TCU. As part of the Believe Network, I'm Zion Trammell, and I'm joined by Seth Dowdle. August is finally here, Seth, which means we will have college football this month. Fall camp is ramping up for teams and for TCU. It starts today. We're finally here, Seth. Like, college football is right around the corner. It's super, super exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how the off season for collegiate sports feels long and also is not that long all at the exact same time. I feel like we just wrapped up baseball yesterday for the most part, and now we are getting into fall camp. And then, the games start. TCU starts in a month on Labor Day, and then for some other teams, we start week 0 on like the 23rd or something like that. Uh, and that's like 4 weeks away. So a lot to talk about before that starts, but we're very much looking forward to the actual football on the field because as much fun as it is to like talk about all the, preseason predictions and rank stuff, it's a lot more fun to actually just watch the games.
Yes, it is a lot more fun. See the talent on the field, recap games. That's it's a lot more fun. But that's what we'll be doing here in a few weeks. We're doing a little bit more of that preseason football talk that won't mean anything here in a month, but it's fun to
Hey,
talk about right
don't
now.
say that. This is gospel what we're about to do today.
What we're doing today, Seth, is we're going to do a Big 12 quarterback ranking. Because Brett Yormark did not want preseason rankings. He didn't want anything of that nature. But here at Believe in TCU, we do not care, and we are going to talk Big 12 quarterback rankings. Because look, just as a conference as a whole, it's pretty interesting. A lot of familiar faces, but there are some new talent as well at the quarterback position in the Big 12. I would assume as of right now, in a way too early mock draft, there probably isn't a first round talent yet, but that could change for sure. So Seth and I, we're going to just go right through it, go from the bottom up and just kind of talk about the quarterback position for each school. At least I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not like super knowledgeable about each quarterback and on each team, and obviously things can change as the season begins. But it's just fun to talk about right now. So, are you ready,
Yeah.
Seth? You ready to do
Yeah,
this?
and just to preface, we are ranking projected starting quarterbacks at
Mm-hmm.
schools. So there might be a backup on your favorite team or whatever that might be better than one of these starters. Uh, I know that's a rare circumstance, but it could be the case. They are not going to be here. These are projected starters. So, uh, yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it. We'll start dead last. Seth, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'd say like 13 through 16 here could be interchangeable for me.
Mm-hmm.
These are all players that did not start last year, have not really played a lot of college snaps, if any at all.
Yeah.
So I'll just go with the names that like I'm most uncertain about. And so at 16, I have Zane Flores for Oklahoma State. Um,
Okay.
he's a redshirt freshman, I believe. He uh, has a lot of experience in the Mike Gundy system, at least in practice, because he's been there for a couple of years. He's projected, I think, to win the job over Haas Haney. I've heard Mike Gundy say some good things about him, that they like him. They've recruited him to Stillwater, but still, I don't know. I haven't seen him play. So he's going to be at 16 for me.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State is not looking good at the quarterback position. I had him at 15 only because of Haas Haney, literally because I just felt like, hey, you know what? I like Haas Haney. I'm just going to put him at 15 instead of 16. But I don't think he threw a pass last year for TCU. I'm almost positive that every snap he got was a run play designed for him. So I don't know.
Yeah,
how that's gonna,
again,
how
listen.
that's gonna fare.
Oklahoma State is in a spot where I mean, quarterback has never really been, I'd say, a strength of theirs. They have had some come through that have been pretty good. Spencer Sanders a couple years ago was a pretty okay college quarterback. Mason Rudolph went to Oklahoma State, and he is the journeyman of all journeymen in the NFL. But I'd say that that's probably where. Brandon Whedon,
Hmm.
notoriously very
I
good
was trying to
Oklahoma State
remember his
quarterback.
name. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd say right now, I mean, can you even name who started at quarterback for Oklahoma State last year? There was four of them, and I don't know if I can name any of them.
No, could not tell you. Um, and TCU play. Did we play Oklahoma State last year?
I don't think
No,
so.
no. I think we avoided them. They obviously had a disastrous season, and well, hoping for better things in Stillwater here in 2025. All right, let's get to our next team. So again, I had Oklahoma State at 15, but I think it's pretty safe to say they probably have the worst quarterback room in in the Big 12 as of right now. I'm gonna guess here, Seth. Do you have BYU's quarterbacks, whoever it is, at 15?
Yeah, McKay Hillstead, is who I got here at 15. The reason being that he actually has some college experience uh, at Utah State, I believe. So, um, I mean, we'll see. BYU kind of, Jake Retzlaff is not a. I don't even know if he's a top half Big 12 quarterback, but he was very serviceable last year in what they needed him to do. And they had a really good season not because of him, but he was a part of it for sure. And
Yeah.
now that he's not there, uh, kind of last minute, right? How do they adjust? I still think that BYU has a pretty good, and not to get into their prospects for the season, a pretty good chance at winning 7-8 games this year. But they're going to have to battle with that quarterback situation. And so we'll see how McKay Hillstead does this year. But I have him at 15.
Yeah, I didn't even know who their quarterback was, so I just put BYU and on my ranking. So we'll see. I think you were pretty spot on there with Jake Retzlaff. Like he didn't wow you on the field, but he was the quarterback that almost got BYU to the college football playoff there for a little while, until things kind of started to unravel a little bit towards the end of the season. But it was still a very good season for the Cougars. But there's just a ton of inexperience. Yeah. Hillstead played 8 games for Utah State, and their backup quarterback is Trayson Bourget, and he played 10 games for Western Michigan in 2022. So that was a while ago.
Listen,
Uh,
listen, listen. 2022, 2025, same thing.
yeah. Not looking good for BYU, the quarterback position, but hey, things can change. We'll see what
They
happens.
definitely
All right.
can't. Because would you have said that Jake Retzlaff would have been good coming into last year?
No, absolutely not. And so again,
Who
we
knows?
could be totally wrong. Um, we're gonna number 14, Seth. Who do you got?
Okay. I got a tie for 13. So 13 and 14, I got two people. Or
Okay.
tie for 14th. We'll do tie for 14th. Tie for 14th.
Mm-hmm.
With Taven Jackson at UCF and Nico
Mm-hmm.
Marchiol at West Virginia.
Okay.
Literally two dudes where I literally am throwing my hands in the air. Like, I just don't care. I just no idea what's going to That's the theme with 13 through 16. You could interchange all of these for me. Once we get to 12, I have firm opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is the conference of quarterbacks. I'll call it that. I think top to bottom, the Big 12 has the best quarterbacks out of any power conference, but 13 through 16 is definitely lacking.
It's not good. I'm right there with you. I put Taven Jackson at 14 because like I said, I don't really know much about him. what's going on. But I had heard some reports that I was kind of, when I was doing my research, that there is kind of a battle there at UCF. Scott Frost coming back to the program. We'll see what they do there. I don't really have much else to say about that. And then Nico, how do you say Marchiol?
Marchiol, yeah.
Marchiol, yeah. He won both games he started in 2024. Had a good game against Arizona. Threw for a couple touchdowns. So at least there's a little bit of a sample size there for West Virginia. But yeah, it's just not great, 13 through 16. But I agree, Seth. This is a good conference for quarterbacks. And I say that, when I mentioned earlier, there may not be first round talent yet. I think that could very well change this season. I think there's going to be some guys that we'll talk about later that will certainly elevate their draft stock. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you want to say?
Well, Taven Jackson, I just want to mention that he has a little bit more experience than some of the guys that are lower on the list. He played at 2 games for Tennessee as a freshman in 2022, and then he was at Indiana the last 2 years where he did not start. He played a couple games in 2023 and was the backup last year for the Hoosiers in that awesome season that they had, and now he's at UCF. So a little bit more experience, a little bit more highly touted than I think some of the other guys below him. So I think, if anything, that would elevate him to the top of the bottom tier, but still not a very good resume for Taven Jackson.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we are at number 12. I have Houston's quarterback, Connor Wegman. I think that's how you say it.
Connor Wegman. He is, they thought that they could throw the former 5-star to the bin, and he said, no, I'll go to Houston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Wegman, I have him at 11, so we're pretty aligned here. Wegman was the starting quarterback for Texas A&M last year. So that is a pretty good check in like the good column, I'd say. Don't look at what he did, though. And he was kind of always the guy in College Station who was promised to be amazing and just could never fulfill that promise. And it was just kind of frustrating to watch. He had some injury issues, but he always just seemed to be one step behind the defense. And especially in the SEC, which is the highest level of play you have here in college football, that's not going to be good enough. And eventually A&M pivoted for the better, I'd say, to a different option. And now Wegman entered the transfer portal, and he's at Houston. I think I like what Willie Fritz and company can do with him in Houston, but right now I just haven't seen enough for me to rank him any higher.
Yeah, Houston's passing attack was really bad last season. They struggled a lot, so there's going to be some things that obviously will need to change. And they lost some guys in the transfer portal. With one of their wide receivers coming to TCU as well. So, that's kind of an issue there, but we'll see. Maybe Houston can kind of bounce back, and Connor Wegman can get back to what he was touted as coming out of high school. So we'll see there. Okay, so you had him at 11. Who did you have at 12?
I had Noah Fafita.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, if we had done this ranking last year, this would not be where he would have been.
Yeah.
Really rough season last year for him after a really great season the year before. And that was just kind of par for the course for Arizona, where everything was just worse. And he just, I didn't watch a lot of Arizona football last year, but I obviously watched them in the game they played against TCU toward the end of the year, and it was just not pretty. Even with, one of the best wide receivers in the country in Tedero McMillan, that offense was not clicking at all. And how much of that is Fafita's fault? I don't know how much of that is the coaching staff's fault. I'd say probably more so than his, but still at the same time, there are a lot more quarterbacks in this league that had better seasons than Noah Fafita. And I just don't have the confidence at the moment that he can replicate 2023. Still, I'd say that 1 through 12 is like a significant jump from 13 through 16 on this list.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just a couple notes here. Fafita went from he had a school record 72% completion percentage in 2023. And then in 24, he went to 60%, a significant drop. He threw 12 interceptions. And yeah, he had Ted McMillan, who is the best wide receiver in this draft class. When TCU played Arizona, I was there. I was in the press box, and pretty much the entire time, I never thought, man, what a play from Noah Fafita. I just kept thinking, man, what a play from Ted McMillan, because that was not a great throw. He made Noah Fafita look at least decent, because when you have a wide receiver that talented, it makes life a lot easier for you. Now you don't have him, and you're coming off a pretty bad season, so it's going to be a very interesting season for Noah Fafita, and I'm sure Arizona fans are hoping that they can get a little bit closer to what we saw in 2023. All right, we are at number 10.
Yeah, I'm assuming you had Fafita at 11.
I had Fafita at 10.
Okay.
But who did you have at that 10th spot?
I have Brendan Sorsby.
Okay.
From Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The second former Indiana Hoosier on this list. I just want to make this clear that there is an epidemic. Indiana is losing quarterbacks like crazy. Sorsby had a perfectly fine year last year. We've entered the tier for me where we're like, these guys are fine to good.
Mm-hmm.
And Sorsby, really good year, 64% completion percentage, the best of his career. Threw for career high in yards, 2,000, career high in touchdowns, but he also threw 7 interceptions. This is more so, I think, an indication of where I think he can perform within Cincinnati and maybe less so himself. And maybe that's not fair, but that's just kind of how I view all of this in general. So, yeah, I like Sorsby a lot, but in the conference of quarterbacks, there's only so many I can put up at the top, and so I have him at 10.
So this is interesting with Brendan Sorsby. I had a chat with JD Andrus, who was on our show a few weeks ago, and he was talking about him. He's pretty high on him, and in fact, Seth, he has him as the Big 12 Player of the Year. That is right.
Okay, if Brendan Sorsby wins Big 12 Player of the Year, I'll do something. I don't know what I'll do, but man, that's
whatever the top
crazy.
comment says.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It was definitely a shock when I saw that. And he's really high on him, and I didn't believe that he could be a Big 12 Player of the Year, but I was like, okay, maybe he's just a little bit better than I thought. I just thought that was hilarious. And
I'm rethinking everything now. Should I have Brendan Sorsby higher?
Yeah, so I moved him up, like, I think I had him at 8. So I moved him up a couple spots, because originally I had him at I think I had him at 11, and then I just remembered that conversation, just seeing that on Twitter, and then that conversation. I was like, okay, I'm gonna move him up a little bit. But I don't know. I seriously doubt he will be the Big 12 Player of the Year, and I don't even think he'll be a top 5 quarterback. But we'll see. I don't really have a lot of input about Sorsby. He did have 9 rushing touchdowns, which was the most in the Big 12. But but Cincinnati ended the season so poorly that it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So I don't know. We'll see.
I get the one thing, I'm not trying to discredit JD because I feel like that's a perfectly fine, bold prediction.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like in order to be a player of the year in a conference, you have to be on a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cincinnati's going to be all that good this year.
Yeah. The ceiling is not very high for Cincinnati in my book. But anyways, let's move on. We're at number 9.
I think so.
I
I
kind
think
of
so.
okay. So I
Who
just
do you have
want
at
to
9?
so I just want to say I had Caden Salter at 11 out of Colorado. I
Okay.
don't really know much about him, so
I
we'll
have him at
see.
9.
Okay, so you have him at 9. Let's talk about that.
I have him at 9. Caden
The
Salter,
post Shador Sanders era begins for Colorado. Does Caden
yes,
Salter live up to that? What Shador Sanders is able to do?
maybe. DFW native Caden Salter from Cedar Hill won the state title with the Cedar Hill Longhorns back in 2020. Just want to make that very clear before committing to Tennessee. And then he was promptly let go from Tennessee after he had a little bit of trouble. And then he transferred to Liberty, where he had been for his entire career. Was there with Hugh Freeze before Hugh Freeze went to Auburn, and he was perfectly fine, especially at Liberty, where they kind of just run Conference USA because that conference is terrible. But in 2023, by far had his best season: 61% completion percentage, 2,800 passing yards, 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for Caden Salter in 2023. Last year, a bit more of a letdown. He came back down to earth, but then transferring to Colorado. And he's most likely going to win the job over Juju Lewis, who's the touted star freshman that the Buffaloes have. But I'm fairly high on what he can do. Now, if that is still in him, I have no idea. But if you just look at players that have been in this league or have been in college football for a while, you can't really have a much better season than Caden Salter had in 2023 as a quarterback. I know that was at a Conference USA school, but it's in him, and I think that it's there.
I don't really have any thoughts. I truly don't know anything honestly about Caden Salter. So let's move on. Okay, so yeah, I had Salter at 11. I had Fafita at 10, and you had Salter at 9. I'm trying
Yes.
to. I'm getting all mixed up here. Okay, so at my number 9, I had Jalen Daniels out of Kansas. I know that's pretty low. If we're talking about like potential, I think that could be a lot higher for
Mm-hmm.
sure. To me, it just feels like he hasn't always put it together at the right time. Like there are moments of greatness and sauce from Jalen Daniels, and there are times where it just looks like he doesn't know what he's doing on the field. So he's a really hard quarterback to rank, but a lot of potential for sure. And I think he could be a reason why Kansas is good, but I just don't have him very high right now.
He's got to stay healthy. That's the big key, really, for him. Has been health. If he's on the field, it's usually pretty good. But when he hasn't, if he's not, then that's trouble for the Jayhawks. This is another thing. Jalen Daniels is the last of an era, of those like COVID era quarterbacks where he's been in college forever.
That makes me feel old that
I
we're
know.
moving past that now.
I know. He has been at Kansas for as long as I can recall Kansas being relevant in football, which is the case, actually. So he kind of got there right as Lance Leipold did. So, yeah, I mean, I have him at 7, so I'm not super high on him either. But I think I have him ranked a little higher because of that potential that you mentioned. But the health is definitely a problem. It's definitely a problem.
Yeah, it's it's something to monitor for next season. Hoping he stays healthy, man. Definitely hope he stays healthy, and that'd be good for Kansas.
Especially because TCU doesn't play Kansas this year, so wouldn't have to worry about a potential wrecking ball. The wrecking ball that he is, or that he can be when he's playing at his highest self.
Yes. Okay. Number 8. Who do you got?
All right. I feel like people in Lubbock are going to come for me for having Behren Morton this low. But I have Behren Morton at 8.
They might. They might come after me too, because that's where I have him as well.
Listen. Behren Morton cannot help himself. He always has shoulder surgery. I feel like he got shoulder surgery over the offseason. I feel like that was his 5th one that he's had. Much like Jalen Daniels, I think there's a lot of potential there, but he's got to stay on the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They Texas Tech was slinging it last year. Like he threw the ball 466 times last season, had a 3,300 yard season, only 8 interceptions. So like he took care of the ball. And obviously expectations are high for Texas Tech, but yeah, we might get some hate for Behren Morton being that, I wouldn't even say it's like disrespectful, to be honest, because I think there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in this conference. He could be top 5 by the end of the season. I don't know, but
yeah, I think 1 through 8 are legitimately pretty good quarterbacks that could start for any of the other schools that say you put Behren Morton on TCU and put Josh Hoover on Texas Tech, I think they start.
Mm-hmm.
That might be that's dumb, actually. I don't know why I said that's a dumb analogy. But Behren Morton's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he has some health issues as well.
Yeah, he does.
And the weight of expectation as well now. Oh, my goodness. I don't know how plugged in you've been to what their expectations are, but their expectation is like 10-win season and conference championship.
Yeah, it is. I talked to a guy from Texas Tech at Big 12 Media Day, and he's like, yeah, we like expectations probably haven't been this high for quite some time. We'll see. I mean, look, Texas Tech has really not had a great track record of living up to expectations or being one of the top teams in the Big 12. They've always been kind of in the middle, at least as far as I know. But
yeah, apart from the Michael Crabtree year where they beat Texas and they were really good and Mike Leach was awesome and amazing. I mean, heck, Patrick Mahomes went to Texas Tech and they were not good.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if things happen. Things change for Texas Tech this season. It's a shame that TCU's not playing them this year. Kind of.
It is
a little surprising.
It's really dumb. Baylor also is not playing Texas Tech this year. So you just want to talk about like 2 teams that have rivalries with, Texas Tech, not even having them on the schedule. And let's just TCU plays Cincinnati in the last game of the year. Why can't that be the Tech game? Why do we have to play Cincy? Right? Or any other team, BYU or any of the other ones, make them Texas Tech.
Yeah, back-to-back years now where we close the season with Cincinnati, and it's so bizarre. It is really bizarre, but whatever.
Let's talk about the schedule next week.
Yeah, definitely. That's that little sneak peek right there. Yeah. So number 7, I had Brennan Sorsby. Who'd you have at 7?
I had Jalen Daniels. So we already talked about.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so we can quickly move on to number 6. What do you got?
We've entered the tier of I might give 2 thumbs up to these quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Rocco Becht, Iowa State.
Okay.
Number 6.
Yeah. Really good potential this year for Rocco Becht. Yeah.
I fell in love with Rocco Becht whenever they beat Iowa last year. It had been a while since I'd seen an Iowa State quarterback have so much just of that chef's kiss sauce that Rocco Becht has. Who was that quarterback that they threw out there against TCU in the final year of 2022, in the final game of 2022? Do you remember that? It's just terrible. It's not fun.
It was not fun for them. I don't remember, but it wasn't someone very good.
Yes. Contrast that with Rocco Becht, and you got some good stuff. He's no Brock Purdy, but man, does he can elevate Iowa State in what might be a down year for them, coming off of, they graduated so many people and they're kind of having to turn that roster over. And since Iowa State is kind of more of like a developmental program where things kind of ramp up to like a big crescendo after a couple of years, then maybe this year might not be that great. But Rocco Becht, I still believe in what he can bring to the table, especially given his track record.
Yeah, 33 total touchdowns a season ago. They lose Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins to the NFL. But I think Rocco Becht should put up similar numbers for Iowa State. I don't know really what's going on with their wide receiver room or what they're projected to do. I had him at 6, so right there with you, kind of in that same boat. And I think things will look good for him this upcoming season. Number 5 is where I have Devin Dampier out of
Utah.
I don't know why I couldn't think of the name, but yeah, Utah.
I do as well. We look at us aligning.
Yeah. So, wait, you had him at 5?
I have him at 5.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Go ahead.
He is one of the if you were to look at other media publications rankings of Big 12 quarterbacks, they will have Dampier higher than we do. Maybe at like number 2, which I think speaks a lot to what Utah thinks of him. I also think that might just be if you compare him to Isaac Wilson. Yeah, of course he's the best. He's he looks like Tom Brady compared to Isaac Wilson. And perhaps even Cam Rising last year, what Cam Rising looked like whenever he was all hobbled around. But Dampier, coming from New Mexico, had a pretty good season last year. Interceptions are a bit of an issue. He threw as many interceptions as he did touchdowns, but definitely a lot of potential in a Utah offense that I think, when healthy, can really get the ball rolling and score some points. So I like what Utah can do with him. But again, haven't seen him in a Big 12 setting, so a little bit more uncertainty for me among the top quarterbacks with him.
Yeah, it certainly could be number 2 or number 3 if things work out well for Utah. Big 12 newcomer of the year kind of potential there for Devin Dampier. You kind of said it all right there, so I'm not going to say much. I agree with you there. All right, so now we've reached the top 4, and things can get interesting here. I'll start with my number 4. I've got Josh Hoover at number 4.
Wow.
Not number 1.
Not number 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll say this about Josh. Not even probably the most underrated quarterback still in this conference, and one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country. I mean, I don't think enough people understand what kind of year Josh Hoover had last season. Did he have Jack Besh, Savion Williams, and JP Richardson? Yes. But the arm talent has been there. It was there. It was noticeable in that BYU game a couple years ago where he went crazy, threw for like 350 yards. It's all been there. Ball security is like the number one thing that Josh Hoover is going to have to fix this season. If he figures that out, man, he's in for a special season, truly. Eric McAllister returning is obviously a huge help, and I think he's going to have a monster season. Could be looked at as one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12. Jordan Dwyer, obviously, we know what he's bringing in to TCU. Josh Hoover is going to have a special season for the Horned Frogs. And I know we're TCU fans and it's biased, maybe, but I really do think Hoover's got some of the best intangibles that of a lot of college quarterbacks. And I think we're looking at something special for Josh Hoover. But I still have him at number 4.
Yeah, hey, you're not. I'm a more of a homer than you do. I have him higher than 4, so I have him at 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I felt like being a little bit of a TCU fan while making these rankings.
There you go. Let's say you have to do it.
Yeah, I know. And I agree with all of your points about him. I think he's very underrated. I think when you hear people talk about Big 12 QBs on a national scene, they don't mention Josh Hoover. I think they respect him. I think they know of him, but they might not mention him with some of the other names that we're going to be talking about at the top of this list. He's very good. Again, ball security, like you mentioned, got to improve that. I think he did improve that, especially from his 2023 campaign where he threw 9 picks compared to just 15 touchdowns. Threw 11 of them last year, 27 touchdowns. But he also has to be a little bit more pocket aware. There were a couple times last year where just wasn't aware of what was going on around him, lost the football, thinking a lot about that debacle that was the SMU game where he had a couple of just terrible turnovers that didn't cost TCU the game, but definitely did not help them. Didn't help them in that game. But hey, 3,900 passing yards last year. Fire me up, Josh.
Yeah, fire me up as well, man. That's crazy. And I wanted to make one last point with Josh Hoover before we move on. Last year, he was the definition of a gunslinger. There was no running game to speak of last season. Savion Williams became RB1 at the end of the year. And it is very difficult to have an offense where you can't run the ball. There's no balance. So I think defenses became pretty aware of that. And they had a light box, and that forced Josh Hoover to make some throws that he may not make if he has a better running game. I think there were some moments last season where he kind of felt like he needed to do everything, and he kind of did have to do everything. If the running game can improve this season, a more balanced attack from TCU, I think that helps Josh Hoover even more and kind of allows him to be the best version of himself. So I think there's that as well. And I think we could be seeing some special stuff from Josh Hoover.
Yeah, fingers crossed on the run game. Obviously, we'll talk a lot more about TCU preview, offense, defense coming up. But
yeah,
Josh Hoover, if there can just be a little bit more balance in the offense, I think he can be a lot more potent and maybe a bit more decisive with what's going on around him. Especially if he doesn't have to rely on his, one of his top 2 wide receivers to be a wildcat running back.
Exactly. Yes. So I had Hoover at 4. Who did you have at number 4?
I hear a lot about how Avery Johnson is a top 2 quarterback in this conference, but I personally do not see it. I think he's really good, but I have Avery Johnson here at 4. Maybe this is anti-K-State bias coming out of me, and maybe it's anti-long hair quarterback bias. I had this with Quinn Ewers for a long time, and then he cut his hair, and then I immediately was like, this guy's pretty good. So maybe Avery Johnson just needs to cut his hair. But I have him at 4 for K-State.
Okay. Yeah, I have him at 3. And I really hated putting him above Josh Hoover. And I already know I'm going to be wrong about this, guys. Like, come on, you don't need to tell me about it. I know I'm going to be wrong. But we'll see. I mean, I think big things are ahead for Avery Johnson. I don't know why I couldn't get that sentence out. But yeah, I do I do kind of get that. I think he is a tad bit like overrated. I think as far as where people like definitively, yeah, he's a top 2 quarterback. Like, well, I don't know. I think there's some things there. Um, you know, given the keys of the offense last season, they definitely played to his strengths. And I'm sure they're going to do that this season. Obviously, his running ability um, poses a lot of problems for defenses, and I think that could be a threat this year. Um, but let's move on. I just realized we're at the 40-minute marks.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Okay. Number 3, I have Sawyer Robertson. I'm assuming you have him at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Goodness gracious. Sawyer Robertson, Baylor was not playing all that well last year. I remember we were talking Dave Aranda, hot seat job done. I think after week 4 or 5. After they lost that game to Colorado where the dude slipped on the Hail Mary and Colorado won, I was like, golly, Dave Aranda's out of here. And then Sawyer Robertson said, hey, you know what? I'm going to come in here and I'm going to help you, Dave. Dave, I'm going to help. And thanks to Sawyer Robertson in a run game that was explosive and amazing, that offense started to click, and Baylor ended the season on a high. I know they lost their bowl game, but 8-5 is nothing to scoff at after how they started down in Waco. And Sawyer Robertson was a big part of that. And entering year 2 and year 1 as a full-time starter, I have a lot of confidence that he can do good things. Their schedule is super tough. They open with Auburn and SMU in the non-conference. So it's not a cakewalk by any means for Robertson and company, but I have a lot of confidence in what he can do down in Waco.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out pretty quickly if Sawyer Robertson is, as good as everyone says, and as I say, because I have him at number 2. They just had such an impressive end to the season. 6-0 to finish the regular season. He threw for 1,500 yards in just those 6 games, 17 touchdowns. He had 153 efficiency rating. It's the best among returning Big 12 starters. Maybe not against the greatest defenses. Going to have a lot more of a test again. Auburn, SMU. That's quite a challenge to start the year. So we'll see. But I really do like Sawyer Robertson. I hope I'm wrong, to be honest. I really hope I'm wrong. I don't want him. I don't want Baylor to thrive. Come on now.
No, don't want Baylor to thrive, but I think it's really tough because I really like Dave Aranda. I like Sawyer Robertson, and the direction that they started going at the end of last season, I see the vision for what they're kind of trying to do here. That schedule, though, this year is really tough. But hey, a good quarterback can overcome a tough schedule sometimes for a team. I think that's what TCU is hoping Josh Hoover can help them do this year, given how tough TCU's schedule is. And for Baylor, they also have a pretty tough conference schedule as well as that tough non-con. But I think the confidence that we have in Sawyer Robertson might overshadow how difficult that schedule is. But as you said, we'll know pretty fast. I think we'll know by like the start of conference play if Baylor's any good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's we'll be keeping an eye. So you've got Josh Hoover at 2, totally valid. And then number 1, we both have Sam Leavitt. ASU.
Don't think there can be any other name here than the quarterback that led a team to the conference title and then almost beat Texas in the college football playoff, and maybe should have beat Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's much for me to say. I think it's pretty unanimous. He's the best quarterback coming into the year for the Big 12.
And I think the most like draftable one that I've seen in mock drafts, I've seen him second round.
I agree. Yeah.
So, and that depending on how his play goes, he could elevate that, as you mentioned at the beginning of all this.
He's got Max Duggan traits in my I saw Max Duggan in Sam Leavitt over the last several games, but he might have more traits that can carry over the NFL.
One thing that I like about Sam Leavitt a lot, and I don't think is talked about, is that he is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen at avoiding sacks. And I think Max Duggan had that a lot too, where his escapability and then his ability just to make a play happen when the play has broken down. That happened a lot in that Texas game where they were getting pressure on him, and he just would evade it somehow, and then he'd find someone or he'd run for a first down or something like that. It just is an innate ability that you don't really hear talked about a lot, but can really come through in the clutch moments. And that's what Sam Levitt has. And especially last year where Arizona State was playing a lot of those one-score close games, they're coming down to the wire. He just had the ability to make the play when it needed to happen. And I think that's what elevates him the most from the rest of the guys below him.
That's very true. Definitely had that sense in him that really helped him stand out. Okay, that wraps up our Big 12 quarterback rankings. That was fun. That was really cool to just kind of break down each quarterback in the conference. Pretty similar list. That seems to be a theme. I think we're, we kind of have a lot of the same thoughts about a lot of, these quarterbacks and teams.
It's kind of nuts, though, that we do that about the Big 12, the most unpredictable league. We have a lot of similar predictions, and I think that it's going to come back to bite us at the end of the year.
It might. Yeah, we didn't talk about our lists before we started. We just kind of went through it. So it is pretty interesting that we kind of have this similar. We'll see. Again, could be totally wrong. And I don't know. We're getting close to seeing how those lists will pan out. It is officially August, so very excited for the beginning of the college football season coming up pretty shortly. But that'll wrap things up here for this episode of Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube page, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, go Frogs.